Margaret with Raise the Vibration, and I'm so excited because today I am joining a beautiful friend of mine who is a part of this book, and I can't wait for you to meet her. We're going to ask her some questions, and there she is. Hi, Crissy.
Hi.
So great to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining me this morning, and I just want to mute my other device. We are doing this on Zoom and on Instagram, so I think we're good to go here. But it's so great to have you. Thank you so much for joining me, Crissy. Crissy is such a doll. So many of you know her as an insanely talented massage therapist. And,
You're so nice.
and just a sweetheart of a person. I mean, I've known you for a couple of years now. You started with us with Giving Tree Wellness. And you've sent a lot of people our way who are just, I mean, if I know a recommendation or a referral is coming from Crissy, I know it's going to be an outstanding human being. So that's the kind of person you are. And we're so grateful to know you. We have a lot of friends in common as well. And,
we do.
And I'm just so glad that our viewers and the readers of this book are going to get to know you just a little bit better through this interview.
Yes. I'm so glad to be a part of this project. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. I was so thrilled. And your story is beautiful. I would love to ask you just a few things. But before we get into the story and the experience of the book, and I'll just tell our viewers just a little bit what this is about. So Raise the Vibration is a book that is going to be released at the end of June. And it is a weekly guide for alchemizing the human experience. So it is 52 authors have contributed to this book, telling their stories of resilience, something they overcame. And this is an idea that kind of dropped into my head. I know you were there from the beginning when it dropped in my head in March of 2020. And I thought, oh my gosh, with everybody getting so afraid and thinking like the world's falling apart, what do we do in order to remember who we are and remember what we've already gone through and overcame? And we so easily forget who we are and what we've overcome. So I reached out to my friends. I didn't know what this was going to be. And I said, hey, anybody want to write a story, 1,000 words or less, about something you've been through, you overcame, and that you had a lesson that you wish you would have learned, that you wish you would have known at the time, that you now learned that you could pass on to somebody who's going through something similar. So it became this book, and now it's a guide with journaling prompts and all kinds of vibration hacks. And I just want you to kind of share with our viewers, who are you? What's your background? Lowdown on Crissy Doolittle.
Well, I am Crissy Doolittle. I'm originally from Chattanooga, Tennessee. I moved to Brooklyn, New York, 15 years ago with my husband now, Jeff, and I got my associate's and bachelor's and master's degree at Pacific College of Health and Science, and I'm a massage therapist and an acupuncturist. But first, I was a mom. And my daughter was everything to me. I had her when I was 16 years old. So we grew up together. And now, I have an adult child. She's 25. I'm 41. And she's my best friend. And, everything that I've ever done in my life was for her. And to be a good role model for my child so she could be a great role model for hers.
Oh my God. So beautiful. So beautiful. It's like something that happens when you're so young and you've turned it into such a beautiful compass for you in your life, of something that is keeping you on the path that is not only good for you, but is good for her. And sometimes when we serve other people, it's actually so just to keep us on the right track, right?
Yes.
So helpful.
Yes. Yeah. And she did keep me on the right track. There were times, you want to give up and you're like, I can't do this anymore. But then you look at her, your creation, and you just want to keep going, and you want to, keep pushing and just find solutions. You don't let problems in life bring you down. You find a way to get through them and over them. So, the next time something comes around, you know how to handle yourself.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's so important. I mean, and when you have something else that's bigger than you, that you are living for and living into, I feel like everybody, I hope everybody knows what that feels like, because it really gives you a purpose and a sense for living. And this book addresses, the first thing in the dedication I talk about, you're not alone. And my intention for this book, one of my intentions for just this project, I didn't know it was going to be a book, was just to get people to also recognize their resiliency, of course, but also that they're not alone, that the feelings that we go through, we all go through different circumstances, we all have different traumas, we all have different successes, we all have different strengths and challenges, but we all know what it's like to feel disappointed and grief, and we all know what it feels like to feel love and appreciate beauty, even if it's not abundant in our lives. We do know what that feels like. And so for these stories that are so beautifully shared, I mean, your story in particular, my goodness, I linked this one to the second chakra, and I linked all of them to the chakras because anybody who knows me knows I'm obsessed with the chakras. It's my framework of how to teach my methodology as a coach and as a teacher. And I linked yours with the second chakra because, I mean, it could be linked to a few different ones, of course, but because your daughter is so critical to your life and that inner child element of that second chakra, immediately that popped into my brain when I was kind of intuiting which one to use for you and your story. But also, we titled this like Ocean of Emotion, like this, like riding the waves. And your story is, everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. And if we can just kind of go with the flow, if we can just trust the process, we kind of see it unfold in 2020 hindsight, of course, always, but we kind of see it if we can just ride those waves. And so I want to ask you, like, you've been through so much in your life. Like, why did you choose the story that you chose? Because you could have chosen a lot of other ones. So share with us why this one.
I thought long and hard about this question, and I'm just going to tell you the truth. It's what I was going through at that moment. Mm-hmm. And it was what I was trying to process at that moment when you asked me to share a story. I was like, this is what I'm going through. This is the perfect story to share because there are so many grandmothers and mothers who experienced what I went through with my daughter. And, they're going to be able to relate, and it's going to touch their heart because when you hear the ending of everything that happens, it's such a beautiful story. It's like you understand the flowers, or that you understand the storm after you see the flowers.
Yes.
You understand that's the way it really felt, is you understand the storm after you see the flowers.
And you couldn't see the flowers at all going through it.
No, you just saw a storm, and it was a roller coaster of emotions, and it took me through every level of emotions that I could possibly go through. And life was moving so fast at that moment, I didn't have time to actually stop and feel through my emotions. And when I wrote this story, I was able to actually process and feel it and move through it and see the flowers at the end.
Beautiful. That's the gift of storytelling too. When I'm interviewing the authors, like we talk about this almost every single time it comes out, the healing process of storytelling, of journaling, of getting our processing down on paper. Yeah. And I think that it's incredible that you took the opportunity to do that with this story and went through it because, I'll save that question to later on the interview, but like it can be so healing. And one of the woman who wrote the introduction or the foreword for the book had the brilliant, sagacious idea of like, hey, why don't we put down at the end of the book like some blank pages for the reader to author their own story? And I was like, what? That's so brilliant,
That is brilliant.
So we did that. We ended up including that brilliant idea, and it's so helpful. So in your story, and without giving too much away from the story, you can share a little bit, obviously, because it's such a challenge, and so many women face this, and we don't think about the mothers and the grandmothers or the sisters or the friends that are standing by this process. And like when somebody goes through something in our life, we don't want to make it all about us. And yet we are still processing so much with them, especially those of us who are very empathic and sensitive. And so share a little bit about the story and what the main message is that you want the readers to take away from this, aside from you're not alone. Like, this happens.
Well, my daughter went through a traumatic experience of losing a child. And the whole point was me getting to her and we were so far away and distant, and it was in the midst of COVID. She was happy to have the baby, and she was so excited, and things just went south slowly, and we weren't able to travel. Everything was in lockdown. If she would have been able to give birth during lockdown, it would have just been really, really difficult. And, now we see that, everything did happen for a reason, that even though our hearts were broken and things were crashing down around us, there were events that took place that made it helpful to accept our situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I mean, there's a lot more to the story. I know I gave a lot away right there,
but
okay. There's a lot more to just, that's the basic of what happened. And, but there's a really happy ending to all of this.
Yes, there is. We won't tell you what it is.
We won't tell you, but there's a beautiful ending to it. And we couldn't be more happy and over the moon proud of everything that has happened, because it made us stronger. Yeah. Yes, it hurt. But it made us all stronger. And my daughter, she is a trooper. She is so strong, and she is such a strong woman who just stands proud in who she is. And I admire her for that. I admire every bit about her.
She has an amazing example of that kind of woman in her mom.
It made me cry.
Yeah. I'm trying to That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. And with your story, and that's what I love, the stories in this book. I'm just, as I'm reading them and trying to edit them through full tear-soaked eyes. I can't even see, because this is so beautiful. How am I supposed to edit this? But I'm doing the editing for these. I was so moved every time I read them. And somebody just popped into my mind, Francesca, who I'm going to interview much later down the road, because she's toward the end of the book. But she writes about how do you grieve? What's the grieving process? And there's so many stories in this book that help us with, and alchemizing is extracting the gold from whatever you're going through, the seemingly worthless piece of lead, you can extract the gold from. That's the definition of alchemy, right? So how do we extract the gold from all of our circumstances, from life, even when it's really, really painful? Yeah. And I just think, the readers will get so much from your story with that, for sure. And so talk to me a little bit about what the writing process was like for you, Crissy, because you've already kind of touched on, you got a chance to process it, but what was it like?
It was tough, because I like I said, life was moving so fast. I was still in school. I was finishing up my master's program. I was dealing with my daughter's situation. COVID happened. We moved. It was just a big process of a whirlwind. And when I actually got to sit down and write the story, I cried. I cried. And I felt it, because I did shed a tear or two here and there, but I just pushed it away and pushed it down, and I just moved on. But when I actually realized what happened and I replayed it over in my head to write it on paper, I felt through the emotion. I sat with it for a couple of days, and then I was able to push it out and know what happened and learn that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, it's almost like the way that you're talking right now. I know we're talking about a death of a child and the story, and then, the birthing process is very much like the grieving process. It takes time. It is painful. It's something that you feel like you need to keep moving through. It's gradual, and then all of a sudden, there's sometimes those really sharp experiences of pain or emotion. And sometimes in the moment of something happening, especially when you're supporting somebody else, like your story is about, that's why it's so challenging when you're supporting somebody else, is you can't always indulge your emotions and allow that release to happen within you. You've got to compartmentalize, especially as a mama, and be able to handle and best navigate through, especially to just save your daughter's life. And make sure that she is okay, and you did that beautifully. So, sometimes you just need to compartmentalize what you're going through, but it's so critical as you're sharing in the writing of the story, to take the time to process what you're feeling.
Yeah. It's definitely, a learning process to learn how to process your own feelings. I honestly think it's something you learn with experience the older you get.
Yeah. It's not necessarily taught in schools, is it?
No, it's not. And too many people don't want to talk about their feelings. They don't, they're too afraid of what others are going to say. And sometimes you have to get it out. You have to get it off your chest so you can, move it through your body and push it away and move on to the next part of your life.
Yeah. And I mean, being a body worker, I know you see it all the time in people's bodies of when you're not expressing your grief, you're not processing your grief, it gets stuck in different areas. And
solid, rock solid. Their muscles are tight. I had a lady not too long ago tell me that she didn't know how to breathe through a massage. And when I was teaching her how to breathe, I was like, I need you to breathe deep in, let everything out and release it all. And she goes, you're the first person who ever told me how to breathe during a tight muscle. I was like, really?
Isn't that wild? And it's one of the greatest. Go ahead.
Oh, no. It is wild. It's totally wild because, not too many people know what, to experience or how to even release their own grief, their own tension, their own stress. And it's important that we know how to do this because it's a big part of our life.
Absolutely. And I mean, some of the greatest teachers and spiritual gurus say that it begins with the breath. It really begins and it ends with the breath. Our life begins with breath and it ends with breath.
Absolutely.
Our exhale, our last exhale. And if we don't know how to manipulate our breath in order to control our more autonomic functioning, then we can't fully be in command of what we're going through in life. And there's so many unpredictable circumstances and things that we're co-creating with all the time, what we can and can't control. But if we can learn how to process the breath, and I'm sure there's a lot of deep breathing going through what you went through in the story, but just being able to exhale and not hold the breath, because usually that's when we have the anxiety, is we're not letting go.
We hold it and we push it down. We
lock it down, right? And then we lock the emotion down.
We sure do.
Yeah. And there's so many ways to release. I mean, there's so many ways to release this energy. And I mean, in the book, I give some further videos to watch with every story as well, of helping people process whatever the theme is for that week. And this ocean of emotion that we feel that feels like it's going to drown us. It really feels, and that water element of that second chakra it can feel so overwhelming when we feel those emotions. So whether it's kickboxing or, beating your pillow or writing something down, I mean, I think I wrote one of my favorite songs I've ever written in like 2 minutes because I was so mad and I just wrote it down, It was, it was, and it was something that I just needed to get off my chest. And I was like, okay. And I feel so much better now. And we have to have a way of expressing it and consciously, so it doesn't involve taking it out on other people.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, writing songs is the best way to express. The best songs are the ones that were written from emotion.
That's right. That's right.
Really
I feel like that's why we identify and we so connect personally with those pieces of music or maybe works of art or imagery or anything like that. But I mean, for me, it's music all the way. But when you hear a song, or like, why do we listen to sad songs? Why do we watch sad movies? Why do we watch stressful or like violent stuff sometimes?
We have to be careful with what you watch and what you listen to, because you train your brain to think that way. And it's like I have to be careful on social media because I'm an empath. So I'm watching these videos of anything, like I'll feel their excitement. I feel like, the baby gender reveals. I get so excited. But then the sad ones, I deeply feel those too. Yeah. So I have to be careful because I get a whirlwind of emotions scanning through videos because I deeply feel what people are portraying to me.
I mean, you're connected to your feeling body. Like a lot of people are not connected so much to that. Like some people have a difficult time connecting to their emotions, and
right.
And it's so fascinating because what works for one person doesn't work for the other person. It's like, how do we know that? We have to go through that journey of self-knowledge, and really, I mean, on the Temple of Apollo in Greece, I mean, that's inscripted. Know thyself.
Yes, I tell everybody, you have to date yourself. You have to go out with yourself. You have to figure out what it is you like.
Yes, and what you need, and give other people the playbook, because we expect other people just to know how to be around us, and we need to give them the answers, especially our partners, right? Just like, here's what I need. And some people need to watch the sad movie in order to be able to connect with their own feelings, or need to, connect with that in some way. I mean, being a human being is an ocean of emotion. It is
so much.
But those of you who are empaths out there, I mean, my goodness, like, you got to watch what you connect with, because if you're really connected to your feeling, it can be exhausting. It
can. And you get tired because you're taking on everybody's emotions. And then sometimes you get stuck in those emotions and you don't know how to shake them, and you don't even realize they're not even yours. You're getting upset over somebody else's stuff.
I know. I mean, sage is one of my best friends in the whole world. Essential oils.
Sage and mugwort.
Mugwort. Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so many, and they're cool vibe hacks throughout the book to kind of teach people how to shake free of that, or process it, or take it through and go integrate it into their own bodies so that they can free it up. Because I mean, unexpressed emotion creates dis-ease in the body. It creates, and you have a front row seat to that as a massage therapist. I know Anthony talks about it all the time.
And acupuncturist, that right there.
And acupuncture, yes.
We always talk about disease being dis-ease. That's how that's how it got its name. You're not at ease.
Right. And I mean, our bodies are meant to flow, and we're meant to move through this rhythm of life, and all of its rhythms and cycles, and I mean, the acupuncturist, in you, I mean, I think if I had another lifetime, I would totally go to acupuncture school as well, because I think it's so fascinating to learn about all of these channels in our bodies, that if we learn how to free up the energy in them, we move more freely through life, and we can enjoy it more. We don't have to suffer
learning
through
the
it.
way the energy flows. You always want to learn the way the energy flows, because you don't want to push energy in a direction it's not supposed to go.
Oh man, I did that most of my life. I did all the resistance, and then was like, oh, okay. And then I was studying in seminary, the different religions, because I went to an interfaith seminary to study all the world religions. And Buddhism was like, the root of all suffering is, and I'm like, what?
What?
Resistance. I'm like, the root of all suffering? Yep, all suffering. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, if we just got that collectively, like, stop fighting, like, stop resisting, fight for what you want. Yeah, go for what you want. But remember, listen to the way that the current is steering you.
Yeah, that's one thing that we all need to do, is just listen.
Yeah.
Instead of just automatically wanting to take the stage and talk over people, and because it's the right thing to do, sometimes we need to sit back and listen to other people's needs, and even our own needs. Because when you're too busy talking and just trying to get the next word out, you're not even thinking of your own needs at that moment. You're just thinking of getting the next word out.
So true. I heard this one teacher years ago say, usually when we're listening, we're thinking about the next thing we want to say, and when we can interrupt, rather than just receiving that person. And I remember this teacher taught me an exercise to do just when I was talking to somebody. Just listen to them and don't do the And I'm a head nodder, right? So I was like,
I am too.
I'm like, because as an empath, you're like, I want you to feel heard. And like, I'm listening. And then when you stop doing that, people are like, are you okay? And you're like, oh yeah, I'm just listening. And it's like completely creates this deeper dimension of being received and seen for that person. It's one of the most loving things we can do.
Yep. You're absolutely right. Be present. Just be present.
Be present. Be present. Yeah. Well, I am so grateful that you are part of this book, Crissy, and I so appreciate you hopping on this quick interview today Just
Absolutely.
so our readers can just be like, who is this Crissy girl? And what's she about? So I'm so glad that they got to be with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, and thank you for this project. I am so excited to see how everything folds out.
I cannot wait, and we'll be doing that release party at the end of June. And thank you guys so much for tuning in today and just being able to connect with Crissy and hear more about her story and her life, her beautiful wisdom. And if they want to find you, Crissy, she's an amazing massage therapist, and she lives north of New York City. But tell us a little bit about where you live and how people can find you online.
I am in the Catskills, and I actually work at the Villa Roma Resort right now, running their spa. And I'm building my wellness center here in Hortonville, New York. Right now, the best way to get a hold of me is through email, and it is Cliodona730 at iCloud.com, which is CLIODNA 730 at iCloud.com. And I'm doing massages right now. I will be doing acupuncture hopefully by the fall. I'll finish up my state boards, and the Treetop Wellness and Retreat is hopefully going to be open in the next couple of years.
Oh, that's so exciting. I cannot wait to see that project come to fruition. I cannot wait.
It's slowly getting there. It's slowly, but it is so happening.
Awesome. I can't wait to see it. So, all right, my love, thank you for joining me today. And
thank you.
Thank you all for joining us today. And until next time, keep raising the vibration, everybody. Thank you, Crissy.